National Australia Day Council wants public nominations for the Australian of the Year Awards 2014. It's being launched up in Canberra today. On the line is the chair of the National Australia Day Council, Adam Gilchrist. Morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you, mate?
I'm well, thank you. Good to talk to you. Look, I might ask you quickly about Dave Warner in a moment, but what's the idea here? What do we need to do to nominate?
Yeah, we are about to launch the call for nominations. I'm here in Canberra, and we've got our current Australian of the Year, Ida Buttrose, who's done a wonderful job from our perspective and is a wonderful Australian and has achieved so much and continues to achieve so much in the betterment of lives of fellow Australians. But we're calling for nominations. So between now and 2nd of August is when the nominations period closes for the awards that will be handed out on Australia Day Eve in 2014. So really, anyone can nominate anyone else. It's we're people who inspire you, people who contribute to the betterment of the nation, or internationally work, or even local work, local community work. There's great people out there, and I guess there's a few people in various fields of endeavour that probably we feel a little bit let down by in recent times, and but there's so many positive stories. So they're the ones we want to focus on and learn about.
Now, Adam, who would we feel let down by?
Well, I think you could name a number of people in a number of areas in recent days and recent hours. But anyway, that they'll all get sorted out. But yeah, the best way to go out nominating someone, and it only takes one nomination, Neil. I think. Yep. A couple of things that I'd like to dispel perception out there. People may think it's a popularity contest, so whoever gets the most nominations wins. That's not right. It's one nomination is all it takes. If someone gets 2,000 nominations, they're still on a level playing field with someone with one nomination. So if anyone out there inspires you, tell us about it. And the other thing I'd like to touch on is the thought that it is the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office that makes the final selection. That is not the case. It's right across all four categories. Australian of the Year, Senior, Young and the Local Hero category. It's the board of the National Australia Day Council, of which I chair, which has a very difficult task of sifting through thousands of nominations and trying to come up with the appropriate recipients.
Yeah, I should explain. It's an easy thing to do too. I've done it myself several times. I've nominated people. There's the Australian of the Year, which is pretty well understood. Senior Australian of the Year is 60 and over. Young Australian of the Year is between the age of 16 and 30. What about Australia's Local Hero? What's the criteria there?
Yeah, we really focus on people who are, I guess, specific to a certain local community, people who have contributed in a whole variety of ways or done something within a local community that has made it a better place or a more comfortable place for they and their fellow people in the community to live. So we've over the years, there was the late now Donald Ritchie lived in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, close to the Gap, the cliff face there, yeah. And obviously that's a place where people who have in troubled times have gone and contemplated, ways to try and change things. And Donald would just walk over and say, before you make any big decisions, would you like a cup of tea and a chat?
Yes, that was beautiful. Yeah.
And they reckon 200 to 300 lives he saved just by opening up his home for a cup of tea. So that's a great story, symbolic of what we like to think Australian characteristics are: friendship, listening to a mateship, and embracing each other.
Yeah, he was a great winner. I agree with you there. A great recipient, rather. You don't win it, do you? A great recipient.
No, that's right. And I guess thanks for mentioning all the various awards that we have there and the criteria, but anyone is eligible for the Australian of the Year. So if you are over 60, don't think you're only in the senior category. Yep. or the person that you're thinking of nominating. Just send them in. Tell us why. The nomination form is on australianoftheyear.org.au.
Yep.
And we don't, it's not a huge pages and pages, as you know from nominating previously. Tell us why they inspire you, why you think they should be eligible, and then our staff will go go to school on that and do a lot more background work and allow us to try and make a very well informed and accurate decision.
So it's australianoftheyear.org.au or 1300 655 193, and we'll take some some ideas ourselves. 96900 693 13 13 32. Well, good luck with it. I do need to ask you about David Warner, fined and what is he? He can't play until the first test, which means he won't be playing in the first test, I would imagine, for disagreement in a bar. Now, you ever snotted an opponent in a bar, have you?
No, I haven't. I'm sure a few have probably wanted to do the same to a few of us when we were on the field, but fortunately never came to a physical blow. But unfortunate, probably the most unfortunate thing is not just for the fact that for David, it's been a couple of times in a few weeks where he's been fined and charged under a certain code, but even in India, there was a number of players, as we all recall, dropped from a test match and for not getting back to the coach on some information he wanted. And it was there that the management said there's been a number of indiscretions prior to that. So that's the concerning part. There seems to be culturally something awry within the team, whether it's lack of respect, commitment, whatever it may be. That's the concerning part of it. So it's going to be a tough enough tour on the field without these off-field distractions. So
what do you do? How do you get them together?
Well, it looks like Michael Clark and the management are trying their best. They're trying to, set a standard that says, anything below that's not acceptable. But it's got to come from within the players. And if it happens again, using Dave Warner as an example, I suppose there's got to be a point where you say, you're not part of the group anymore. We can't persist with that. And hopefully it's about, not just whether who can hit the ball well or bowl well. It's about the people. In any successful organisation, I think any leadership group will tell you it's about the people within the group, and they've got to be good people.
It's about how many chances you get too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah, so, and I guess a sign of the times, Alan Border, I think I read somewhere where he said just being dropped, the public humiliation will be enough punishment. And that's from an era of a great, leader we had, but at a time where a scuffle in the bar was probably just a way to let out a bit of aggression and everyone just kissed and made up and get on with it. But times have changed. Dave himself is a huge player in that social media space and promoting his profile, so he must obviously clearly knows what ramifications will be if he transgresses in that area. So hopefully he can move on from it.
Good to talk to you. You're playing golf, hitting him down the middle, 250 yards?
250 yards, but not necessarily down the middle.
Well, you can go and play seniors with Dean Jones.
Yeah, something like that. No, Dino's got me covered well and truly.
Good to talk to you. Adam Gilchrist, Chair of the National Australia Day Council, and of course a great Australian cricketer, and I use that word deliberately, a great Australian cricketer. His record is superb, his abilities unparalleled in some areas, and his behaviour impeccable. This is the man who walked in was a final? Towards a final in the World Cup. He was out, the umpire said he wasn't, and he said, no, I'm out. Adam Gilchrist. And look, any nominations? Who do you think should be Australian of the Year? 96900 693 13 13 32. Maybe Adam Gilchrist.